people give their opinions all the time, unwanted opinions all the time. And whether they're rooting for you or they're not rooting for you, what they think you are capable of is unimportant.
Because believing in yourself, honestly, it starts the battle for you. Because if you believe in yourself, you can accomplish anything in this world.
That's very true.
But if you don't believe in yourself, then good luck.
Hey y'all, it's Megan May and this is Transparency. And today I have a very, very special guest who is near and dear to my heart. Someone who always shows perseverance, resilience, and grit, hard work, and determination. Someone who has been featured in magazines, in the news. You might have seen him in the newspaper. I love him so much, not because of what he does, but for who he is. This is my brother from another mother, my best friend, Brandon Hardy. Hi, Brandon.
Hi, thank you for having me on the show.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm glad that you were able to come.
Yeah.
And do you mind telling the people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Brandon Hardy. I'm 26 years old. I'm a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, where I majored in marketing and political science. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm the 6th of 7 kids. I'm the first in my family to go to college. And I work in tech sales at Google. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
A man of many hats. Brandon, you done told the people a little bit about yourself, your background, but can you tell them a little bit more about your story? Like, what has shaped you into being the man who you are today? What obstacles you may have had to overcome, and just how people have perceived you, how you've perceived yourself in this journey of becoming who you are known as today?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, I would like to say that in my journey, a lot of people doubted me and didn't believe that I could do what I did. But what they didn't understand was that it didn't matter what they thought about me. What mattered the most is what I thought about myself. And I just had to prove them wrong. I remember when I was in middle school and people were asking, what college do you want to go to? And I was like, I want to go to Notre Dame. And I remember teachers and counselors were saying, oh, that's a hard school to get into. I don't think you're going to do it. And I was just saying to myself, wow, they really don't know who I am, because, I'm going to prove you wrong. And I'm going to do it and prove you wrong and have grace at the same time. So, I consider myself the underdog, because every step of life, people have not believed in me. And that could be because of the color of my skin. That could be because of my socioeconomic status. I grew up in a poor. That could be because, of a lot of different reasons. But I didn't care. I just wanted to be the best version of myself. And it was important that I strive for greatness. Now, I was able to overcome certain obstacles because I put my mind to it.
Right.
And when I say I put my mind to it, I don't just mean that's all I did. I had to work. I worked hard. I remember in elementary school, my mom could not afford for me to get an agenda. Just stuff you put your homework in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you know what I did? I created my own agenda.
That sounds so much like you.
And you have to do those things.
You do.
You have to do those things to get to where you want. And sometimes the things that you have to do, you don't want to do them, but you do it. You make those sacrifices to get it done. And that was what I was willing to do. I remember when, real quick, I I was applying to Notre Dame. I had won a scholarship, and we had a college counselor for the Scholarship Foundation. And when I was telling her the schools that I was applying to and where I wanted to go, she said, well, maybe you should apply to some lesser schools. And
that's actually very insane for somebody that's a counselor to tell you.
It's a true story. And I didn't say anything, but in the back of my mind, I was like, she doesn't know who I am. I'm gonna make this happen. So you know what I did? The summer of my junior year of high school, I would call the Notre Dame admissions counselors and introduce myself and talk to them because I really wanted to go there because that was my goal. And I was willing to do the work that I needed to do to get in. And I did that. And I just, you have to have that grit and that perseverance and be motivated to do it. And that's what I did. Yeah. Yep.
That's good. Could you also share a little bit more about carrying yourself with dignity in these spaces where not many people look like you, not many people come from a background similar to yours, and you are expecting people to just make that first impression based off of the color of your skin, not even getting to know who you are or taking into account the way that you carry yourself, because you carry yourself like you are that man, like you are that guy, and you very much are him. But from a first perspective or first impression standpoint of somebody that wasn't to know you and probably come from a higher class background, might not be the same race as you, like, can you explain to the viewers or the listeners how to navigate those spaces where you can already sense judgment and it's like racial tension in the room? How do you overcome obstacles like that?
Absolutely, that's a great question. My quick answer would be, be true to who you are. I wasn't interested in what people thought about me when I went to college. When I went to college, I went from DeKalb County. I went from DeKalb County up to
the best county.
all my high school, all black, poor kid, kids. And I went up to Notre Dame, which is mostly, white and wealthy. But it didn't concern me what people thought about me. When I walked into those classrooms, I wore my suits and my bow ties and I didn't care that they were judging me. I went into Notre Dame a low-income black student, but I graduated as the face of the university. So it's all possible. I put myself in a position to excel. And there were people who didn't like that, but I didn't care because it wasn't about them, it was about me. I didn't take anything for granted. I wanted to be the best version of myself. And I put my best step forward, and I really wanted to be the best person that I could be. So I wore my suits to class. I got to know the professors. I went to the football games dressed up in gold and in sparkling green, because that was who I was. And that's who God created me to be. God created me to be that, and so I was walking in His purpose. And I didn't, there were people. I remember, I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story. I remember it was my junior year of college, and I was at a basketball game. And at the basketball games, the students who got there first stood in the front on the court, kind of behind the basket. And I remember they put the camera on me, and they put we had to do like an emoji face, so like the licking emoji. So I did that, and my camera was on for about 10 or 15 seconds. And when the camera was on me for that amount of time, people behind me, which was other students, started booing. They booed me because they were jealous that I was always on camera, and I wanted to just drop down and cry, because I was like, I didn't do anything to them, but if you've ever been booed, you don't like it. That's a terrible feeling. But I just came to the realization that, I'm here for a bigger purpose. They don't, because I don't look like them, because I don't act like them, because I don't have the same kind of background as them, they were judging me for that. They didn't really care to get to know me, because if you got to know me, you know that I'm a good guy.
An amazing person.
Thank you. So I say all that to say, man, when you're blazing that trail, you have to be confident in who you are. Because if you aren't, this world will tear you down and spit you out and chew you up and spit you out. But I didn't want to be chewed up and spit out, and I didn't want to be tore down, and I didn't want to have to crawl. I wanted to walk, and that's what I did. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm very proud of you for sticking true to who you are, despite being in like a completely different environment and having different expectations of you. Staying true to who you are, setting your own expectations, and making sure that those are what you prioritize versus all the other noise of outside opinions and expectations and what people think you can and can't do. You beat the odds and you prove them wrong. So, and you continue to do that. So I'm very proud of you. And I feel like in Brandon's story, there's so much to say about even just putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. I feel like oftentimes we shy away from what is uncomfortable, but might be the very thing that makes us grow into the person that we supposed to become. Because think about it, if you didn't go through so much adversity and had to overcome the various obstacles, whether they be racial, financial, whatever, like you more than likely wouldn't be the person that you are today. You wouldn't be able to credit yourself or credit God for the blessings that you've had in your life thus far, because you didn't, take that challenge and you didn't bet on yourself the way that you really have. So guys, please take that lesson with you in terms of being the underdog. It really doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter where you're from, what kind of social or any type of barriers, doesn't really matter. Like if you really believe in yourself and you really want something, then go ahead and put yourself in the positions, put yourself in the places, the environments that's going to shape you into becoming that person that can not only achieve those things or attain those things, but prosper in those environments despite the odds.
Absolutely.
Okay, so part of being the underdog is not only just being able to overcome obstacles and challenges, but believing in yourself and believing that you were meant for more. Regardless of how everyone else sees you, you know that you're made for more. God put more inside of you. And sometimes we have visions for ourselves that other people cannot relate to, they don't understand, and they don't believe in. But your dreams and your goals, your aspirations, all of those things are personal to you. God gave you those visions for you to go ahead and put into the earth. So nobody else has to understand it, nobody else has to believe it. But there's something to be said about having big dreams, because a lot of people are just dreamers. A lot of people don't go out there, don't bet on themselves, and don't go after the things that they actually want. They allow the environments that they're in, the society that they're in, to tell them what is possible for them. So Brandon, being that you are so accomplished and I've known you since 8th grade. You've had big dreams since the moment that we've met and been able to knock those dreams out the park each and every time. Could you please share with the listeners and the viewers like how to go after those big dreams and not really get discouraged, because there are going to be trials and tribulations that we have to overcome, and sometimes that can like distort our vision. We might think like, maybe I'm not supposed to pursue this, maybe I'm in over my head. So just go ahead and share with the listeners and the viewers like how to overcome challenges and still go after those big dreams that they have in store for them.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, first of all, Megan, I would like to consider myself a visionary.
Ooh. Come on, visionary.
Ever since I was a kid, I mean, this is the honest truth. I see things, and I can just see myself in my visions, just the life I'm living, traveling the world, going to a school like Notre Dame. I can just see it, and I don't know where I got that from. I would say God, but it
gotta be him.
It's gotta be God, because I don't know where that comes from. But since I was a kid, I just see things, and I go after those things. But I want to touch on a point that you said. A lot of people have goals and have visions or have things they want to accomplish, but not a lot of people put in the work and put in the effort to get there. And I was telling my friend, for a couple years, he was explaining to me, he wanted to just, start his own business and do X, Y, and Z. Right. And he kept talking about it. And he never really put in the the effort to start making those things happen. And one day I said to him, I said, you know why you aren't successful in that? He said, no, why? I said, you aren't successful because you haven't breaking that ground to start walking towards that goal. You haven't done anything to start,
putting yourself in a position.
Exactly, putting yourself in a position to where you're a business owner. You haven't done that. When you start doing that, then you come talk to me. Because even if you start doing that and you fail, that's better than wanting to do it and not doing it. Because if you want to do it and you don't do it, you're going to fail anyways.
Right.
So you might as well put yourself out there. Step up to the plate and hit a home run. I'd rather you do that than to not step up to the plate and to just walk around it. So you have to be willing to blaze your own trail. You have to be willing to put yourself in a position to be successful. Now, you're not gonna always be successful. There are gonna be moments where you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail. You're gonna get discouraged. That's okay. You just gotta keep going. You can't worry about all that. You have to put that behind you. I like to think of myself as a positive person, and when you are a positive person, no matter what comes in your way, you put it behind you and you keep on moving forward, because that's what's important. You're not going to always accomplish everything in the first time. It might take you 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, but you got to keep going. You have to be motivated. You have to keep going, because if you don't, you're not gonna be successful. And that's how I've been able to be successful, is just put my foot forward, and I believed in myself, because believing in yourself, honestly, it starts the battle for you. Because if you believe in yourself, you can accomplish anything in this world.
That's very true.
But if you don't believe in yourself, then good luck. Because even if other people believe in you, but if you don't believe in you, good luck. Good luck. I mean, seriously, good luck.
No, that's facts.
I remember when I was leaving Atlanta and going to South Bend, Indiana, which is what Notre Dame is. I had $40, and I had a luggage bag that was broken. And
that was before he started borrowing my luggage out of
That was before I started borrowing Megan's luggage. But I remember I was like, this is not what I want for myself. This is not who I want to be. This is just what I was born into. But I'm gonna overcome this. I'm gonna get me a job, and I'm gonna save my money, and I'm gonna buy the luggage that I want, and I'm gonna leave Notre Dame with more than $40. And you know what? I left with way more than that. And I left with new luggage that had been to 10 countries. And now I've been to over 51 countries, because that's what I wanted to do. That's what I saw for myself. I saw more. Now the people around me didn't necessarily always see more for themselves, or the people around me didn't necessarily push me to do that, because they didn't do that. But it didn't matter. I wanted to do that. I wanted to show them that it was possible, that anything is possible. So that's what I did. I walked in my purpose. And I remember my first international trip was the summer after senior year, going into my freshman year. I wasn't quite a freshman yet. I went to Rome, Italy, and all I had to pay for was my flight, and one of my scholarships covered the flight. And I wanted to live a life where, because when I was younger and I grew up in we didn't have the finances for me to do a lot. I didn't want money to stop me from doing what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to live the life I wanted to live. If I wanted to travel to South Africa, which I went my junior year, I wanted to be able to go. So you know what I did? When I was in high school, I applied to scholarship after scholarship after scholarship after scholarship. And Megan, I won a lot of them.
I know.
I won a lot of them, and it was a blessing, and I can't I can't complain, and it was a huge blessing that I won as much money as I did in scholarships, and I used that, to travel all over the world. One, not only just for myself, but I wanted to share my world with everyone else. So I used my Instagram page to inspire others who are low income Black students to tell them that you can do it too. If you put your mind to it. You gotta put your mind to it. You gotta put yourself in a position to be successful. And I think a lot of people are missing that in today's society. I think a lot of people just see the aftermath. They just want to be successful.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and to your point, I feel like a lot of people are allowing the noise to distort their vision. And even speaking from my own personal experiences, like sometimes you might share your idea or share your dreams with somebody, and because they don't know any better, they're telling you what is and what's not possible.
Yeah.
They're telling you that you can't achieve something, or you must think that you're this, or you must think that you're that. And the thing about it is, I understand why people say, like, when you have a new idea, when you're going after something new, keep it to yourself. Keep it personal, because people don't necessarily wish the worst for you, but they live within their own sphere of things. They see things a certain type of way. And I've heard so many, like, very successful people say this: never take advice from somebody who's not living the life that you would want to live. And I think that's very important in pursuing your dreams, because people give their opinions all the time, unwanted opinions all the time. And whether they're rooting for you or they're not rooting for you, what they think you are capable of is unimportant. It's about what you have inside of you, the burning desire that you have, and also the belief that you have in who you are, who you say you are, who God says you are, and what you believe is possible for you. And like Brandon said, the first thing to do is shift your mentality, shift your mindset, and change it to one that doesn't see anything as impossible. Because realistically, anything that we want out of this life, we can have. We can have it. It might not be easy. Sometimes the road is rough, sometimes the road is dark, but anything we want in this life, we can have. We just have to put ourselves in a position and start with the smallest step. Like for Brandon, he didn't allow people to tell him, like, oh, you can't go to Notre Dame, you can't afford to go to Notre Dame, people that look like you don't get into Notre Dame. He didn't allow that noise to block his blessing or deter him from going after his dreams. Because realistically, if he broke it down into the smallest step, he see, well, color really don't matter. I might be one of few, but color really don't matter. And finances really don't matter neither, because what did he say he did? He applied to every and any scholarship that he could find. And he went to college not having to pay anything out of pocket, graduating debt free, and traveling the world. So realistically, there's nothing in this life that you cannot have. If you want it, you can achieve it. You just have to figure out how can you put yourself in position to attain those things. And think of the very, 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 very first step that you can take. If you're looking at the big picture of things, then it's easy to get discouraged, because you're thinking like you're just a fish in a shark tank. You easily gonna get swallowed up. And that's not the case. But we only know what we know, guys. And I think that another very important thing to do when you have big dreams is to really do your research. Find out what it is, what resources are accessible to you to really get the ball rolling and get started. Because sometimes, yes, there are barriers of entry if you want to pursue a business, if you want to do anything. Like, competition is there. Yes, there's things and factors that are out of your control that might scare you and prevent you from starting. But if your dreams are big enough and if you believe in yourself, then there's nothing that you can't achieve. It's really nothing that you can't achieve.
Absolutely. And I'll add on to that. Add on to having big dreams and believing in yourself. You got to find people to help you along the way.
Community is everything.
Because let me tell you, I wouldn't be here if I didn't find those people. And when you meet them, you might not know when you meet them that they're going to be the ones to help you along the way, but they just might. They just might. I remember I won a scholarship called the Horatio Alger Scholarship, and they flew me to DC. And I remember it was at the reception. I had on my black suit, and there was a gentleman who was in a pamphlet, and he was a Notre Dame guy, and I had gotten into Notre Dame, so I said I want to meet him, and they said, well, he's busy, you gotta wait till after dinner. And so I said, and then after dinner he was gone. So you know what I did? I emailed him. I found his email and I emailed him, and he emailed me back after a couple days later. And you know, this was significant in my life for so many different reasons. This guy at the time was the chairman at KPMG, which is the first company that I interned for.
I remember.
And you know, by the grace of God, I was able to get an internship there, as I just said, and he's helped me along the way. So having a big dream and working towards that, and finding people to help you along the way will help you out tremendously, because you might not necessarily know at that time that the people will help you, but man, just build good relationships. Be a good person. Treat people the way you want to be treated.
Absolutely.
And when you do that, you'll see people will help you. They'll give you tips and tricks. They'll give you good recommendations, good advice to get to where you're trying to go. But one of the other things, before we go to the next question, one of the other things that I must say is that sometimes, because Megan touched on this, and I'm gonna say it. She said it more eloquently than I can say it, but I'm gonna say it anyways.
Say it anyway.
You can't tell everybody your goals. You can't tell everybody what you're working on. Sometimes, you know, most times, it's better to just show them your results, because you know, actions speak louder than words. When I was getting ready to buy a house, I didn't even tell Megan, and Megan, my best friend, she did. I had to basically trick her to. I'm like, Megan, after I had already signed the paper and it was official, to tell her. And it's not because I didn't trust her. It's not because she was going to belittle me or talk down. It wasn't about that. It was just that I wanted to show her my results. And so when I was applying for a job at Google, I didn't tell you.
He didn't tell me. He was there when he found out he got the job, and I was the first one to know, but he didn't tell me.
I didn't tell nobody. I kept it to myself, not because I thought she would talk down on me or nothing like that, because I just wanted to show her my results.
Yeah, and those type of things, like your big dreams, they're sacred to you.
Yeah.
They're very personal to you. They're very sacred to you. And I mean, you can decide whether or not you want to share things with whoever you want to share them with, but you just have to be very careful, because like Brandon said, sometimes it's not even about like, oh, they're going to talk down on you or they're going to try to discourage you from going after what you want, but it's just a personal journey that you want to be able to just show them the results of.
Yeah.
But other times that is the case. People don't want to see the best for you. They don't want you to be doing better than them. And so you do need to, you know, keep certain things near and dear to you. And once things are already in motion, already solidified, like there's nothing that anybody can say, do, speak against you to really like take that away from you. Yeah. And I am a firm believer that what God has for you is for you. So it's not that you should be scared or weary, but just, you know, it's personal, so really like treat it and cherish it as such. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah.
And before we move on, I do want to also touch on going back to when Brandon was speaking about failure. And I have a whole episode that'll air before this that speaks about fear of failure. But when you're going after these big dreams and these big things, it's almost inevitable for you to face fear, and it's almost inevitable for you to face failure. But you can't allow either one of those to deter you from what you're aspiring towards, because if you do, then you're never going to get anywhere. Those dreams will always live in your head. They'll eat you up. Time will continue to pass you by, and you will just have this thing in your head. You can tell people about your dream all day long, but if you're talking about the same dream for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and so on, then like, what difference does it make? It's just a dream. And while you sitting here just being a dreamer, somebody else is having this same dream, this same vision that they're carrying out. And lots of times that's when you feel even more discouraged. You feel like you missed out on the opportunity, you missed out on the chance. But it's not even that. You just have to start getting into action. Start putting things into play, putting yourself in those positions like we said. So I did want to touch back on that. And I do also want to say that in pursuing your big dreams and your big goals, that sometimes doors will be slapped in your face, like slammed in your face. You sitting there crying and sliding down the wall asking God why. Because like I said, these things are very personal to you. You feel very strongly about these things. They're very sensitive to you. But I do want to say that sometimes, and I said this also in the last episode about failure, sometimes it's not that the dream is too big for you to attain. Sometimes your approach just needs to shift. Sometimes it's the way that you're going about things that's causing all this rejection. But really, just look at that rejection as redirection and still go after what you want. Because if you really want something, then you can attain it, you can achieve it. It is yours already. The moment that you have the vision in your head and you decide, okay, no matter what, this is going to come to fruition, it's yours.
Yep.
So definitely take that with you as well.
Yep. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Brandon, you shared about your story being an underdog, growing up in, low class environments and going to Notre Dame, being one of few. And you spoke or touched on, I should say, now being in tech sales at Google. Tell the viewers, the listeners, how did you get here exactly? Like, what did it take in terms of character building? What did it take in terms of your hard work and dedication? And even speak to how you even segue into becoming a tech sales employee at Google, because it didn't just happen by surprise, but something was kind of like the catalyst to get you there. So yeah, just go ahead and tell people.
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I graduated from college, I was supposed to move to California and work at LinkedIn in sales. But when I graduated from college, it was during the pandemic. And so the program at LinkedIn, they delayed the start date. And so I was out of work because I didn't get to start in time. I was out of work for 3 to 4 months. And during that time, I was just looking for a job and applying to jobs. And let me tell you what happened. I applied for a job at a company called UiPath, and I got an email probably an hour or two later, and they rejected and said no. And they said, no, you're not. We're going to looking for other candidates. And so instead of getting discouraged, you know what I did? I went back to LinkedIn. I clicked on the company's LinkedIn page. When I clicked on the company's LinkedIn page, it shows you who you're connected with that's working at that company. And I saw that I was connected to somebody on LinkedIn that was on the board of that company, on the board of directors of that company. And that guy happened to be one of my mentors that went to Notre Dame. And so I reached out to him, and he said, Brandon, send me a resume. And I sent him my resume. And that night, he had connected me with the head of sales at the company. And they called me. And when they called me, I talked to him, and then the other VP of sales called me, and I got into the interviewing process. So that just shows you right there. A lot of this is about, just knowing the right people that can help you get to where you're trying to go. And you can't be worried about the rejection. You got to overcome that. Because you got to be committed to, overcoming rejection, because rejection is going to be there. You're not going to always be successful. So that's just a quick example that, look, if you put in the work and you know the right people, or you put yourself in a position to where you can know people, you'll be successful. And was successful. But to piggyback on what you said about being in tech sales, so after I just told you when I graduated college, I was supposed to move to California, and but I didn't because I graduated during the pandemic. I started that internship at that company I was just telling you about, and it didn't really go that well. It went good, but it wasn't great.
Right.
And at the end of the internship, I ended up getting the internship, and at the end of the internship, I was hoping for that return offer. And I remember talking to the VP of sales at that company at the time, and we were on a Zoom call, and he said to me, he said, "Brandon, maybe this just isn't the right role for you." And I said, but he said it, he said that, but he said it in other words. And so I looked at him and I ain't say nothing. I just kind of, kept it cute, kept it smiling, and I got off the call. I'm like, well, you know what? But let me tell you how that was a huge momentum break for me, because at that time, a company called Snowflake, which is where I would end up going and starting full time there, they were recruiting me, and I ended up getting a job there. Can you believe it? And when I started there, I used everything at the company before that I didn't do well, and I worked on the things that I didn't do well, and I took my best self to Snowflake. And wow, I was number one. I was number one every week. I was number one every week, every month, every quarter. These are facts. And I was number one, and so that was a huge break for me and for my career, because I was so successful. And not only was I successful, I helped a lot of other salespeople. I trained them. I told them the best practices. I gave them advice, recommendations. I told them everything that would work for them. And I think, Megan, that's one of the reasons why I was so successful, is because I didn't hide the information. I didn't gatekeep it. I shared it. I shared it to the world. And in that, I built a great name. I built a great brand for myself. Everybody knew me.
What they know you as?
Well, at work they know me as B Hardy.
Most people know him as B Hardy.
Most people know me as B Hardy. But they knew me as just being the stylish guy, the guy who can dress, the guy who helps everybody, who wants to see everybody be successful. I built a great name for myself, and it was, I did so well. You know why I had to do well? Because I worked in sales, and so there's a base pay, there's commission, and so it was important for me to do well, because I had to make money. Because like I told you, I grew up in a low income family, and I needed money to survive. So the survival skills came in, because I grew up like that. I had to survive. So I had to do well to make money to survive, and that's what I did. Yeah.
And I think it's a lot to be said about just your humility and the type of man that you are, because I feel like something that a lot of people struggle with is taking constructive criticism. And you could have very well took what that person at UiPath was saying to you and been just very non-receptive to what he was saying, and thinking like, oh, I know I could do this, I feel like I'm doing well, and carrying that mentality with you. But I think because you believe in yourself is why you're open to criticism, and constructive criticism at that. And you don't see it as somebody trying to, for lack of a better word, shit on you.
Yeah.
You see it as somebody giving you the tools that you need to better yourself. Like you said, you took all the things that they said you weren't really that strong in, and you made sure that you worked those things so that when you got your next opportunity, you was able to better apply yourself in those areas. And not only that, but bring others along with you. And I feel like that's very important, and it just speaks to your character, honestly. And in saying that too, I want to say this, because I think a lot of people glamorize success. And of course, we going to glamorize success because who doesn't want to be successful? Who doesn't want, all of the things that they dream of to come into their real life, their reality. But I think too, being that we live in this era of social media where we're shown the highlight reels of everybody's life, and Brandon is one of those people who can, oftentimes be seen as somebody that has it all together and always has had it all together. If you don't know him, you don't know his story, you don't know that hasn't always been the case. And I feel like a lot of times why people can't really get to where they want to go, it's not because of their own obstacles that is in your personal path, but you just self-sabotage, and you're so focused on what everybody else's success is looking like, not realizing that underneath the success is the seeds that were planted, that he's watered over the course of time and took care of to nurture, to grow into the person that he is today. Because he ended with this story at Snowflake, but we're going to further talk and discuss how he managed to make it to Google. And people, you hear Google and it's like a light goes off in your head, like, what, Google? Because Google is one of those big names that carry a lot of weight. But it's not that he just knew the right people. Like, yes, that can play a part into it. But it's about how he's nurtured that seed that he's planted from long ago. And that seed is just simply believing in himself and not allowing criticism to be a deterrent, not allowing any other of the other obstacles to be a deterrent. Just allowing everything to be further nurtured for that seed to grow. So you ended with how you ended up at Snowflake and you was doing exceptionally well. You was helping others on your team and just others in your company. Go ahead and further explain like the rest of your career trajectory and how you managed to make it to Google.
Yeah, so I got recruited from to Google, and I remember when I got recruited, the recruiter was recruiting me for a role, and I wasn't sure if that was the role that I wanted to do, but that didn't matter to me. What mattered was that I had a chance, and so I told her, I said, well, I'm not sure if this is the right role, but I'm gonna keep your name, your email, and when the time is right, I'll reach out. And a year later, I reached out, and we got a conversation going, and the right role opened up.
Okay.
Can you believe that? The right role that I thought was right for me opened up, and I started interviewing, and I just wanted to make it to the interviewing process because I felt that if I made it to the interview process, I would get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't talk to nobody about it. I just believed in myself, and I just worked hard. And that's what happened. And I remember it wasn't a cakewalk. It was difficult. There were challenges, but that didn't bother me. I just really wanted to be successful. And I really wanted the job. That's why I didn't tell anyone, because I know it's hard to get a job at a company like Google. And what was important for me was to just put in that work, and I ended up putting in that work, and I got that job. Yeah.
Okay, boom. So you got the job at Google.
Yeah.
But something very unexpected happened briefly after you started Google.
Yeah.
That changed your life forever. And I want you to tell the listeners and the viewers about what happened, how it changed you, how it shaped you, and how you see life now.
Absolutely. That's a great question. So in April of this year, April 2024, I was in a very bad car accident. And when it happened, first of all, I don't remember anything from that day. When I woke up in the hospital, I was like, what am I doing here? You know, what put me here? The doctor came in there and she's, you know, I asked her, I said, what happened to me? And she said, you were in a very bad car accident and you had a brain injury. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that that I had a brain injury. I was like, me? Mm-hmm. And she was like, yeah. And she said, well, how do you feel, Brandon? How do you feel physically? And I said, I feel fine. She said, do you have any pain? I said, no. She said, you don't have any pain? I said, no. And because everything from that day of my car accident, I don't have any memory of. That's been erased from my memory. And for about a month or so, I was in a coma. So I was here, but I wasn't here fully. So I don't remember that, and I don't remember how I felt. And so, man, I don't wish that on anybody, because, man, I remember when I got transferred from Grady to Shepherd Center. I remember I was up and I was conscious, but I wasn't. You know, when you wake up from a coma and your mind you're getting your consciousness back, stuff still is cloudy and foggy. So I was still in the point where I was trying to gain full consciousness. And I remember, man, people just coming up to me, introducing themselves to me and talking to me, and I'm like, I'm still trying to really fully understand what's really going on. And man, that's hard to deal with. And I didn't have my phone, and I'm an Instagram guy, and I wasn't on Instagram, so, you know, because I lost my phone during the accident. So I was trying to come back. I was still trying to put everything together. Like, you know, where do I go from here? I was in a wheelchair. I really couldn't walk that well. Well, I couldn't really walk that good at the time. Really at all. And my left arm was weak, and I wasn't strong in my left arm. My left ankle was weak. And I was just, but you know what wasn't weak? My mind.
And your faith.
Yeah, my mind and my faith was strong. And I had to pray about it a lot, because before my accident, I've always been an independent guy. Very independent. But, you know, when that happened, you lose some of your independence, obviously. And, you know, people were making decisions for me because I couldn't make a decision for myself. Medical decisions and everything like that. Financial decisions. Yeah, and stuff like that. So even what to eat. Yeah, I couldn't, it was really hard. Right. And I don't wish that on anybody, and that's something that you really have to really pray about that, because, man, when something like that happens to you, it's like your world collapses, and the only thing you can do is just try to get better. And as I laid in the hospital bed one morning, I woke up and I said to myself, you know, if I've overcome, you know, all this, and I feel fine physically, I don't have any pain, I'm gonna overcome this. And it might take some time, or it might be, I don't know, it might be fast, I don't know, but I'm gonna overcome this. And I believe that, because I've overcome so much in my life. Right. And so I didn't have no doubt. No doubt in my mind. I was positive. And guess what? 3.5 months after injury, I went back to work. And I didn't go back to work because of financial reasons. Oh, wow. I went back to work because I wanted my life back. Mm-hmm. I wanted to start getting my life back to where it was. And, you know, if you haven't been through that, let me tell you, I don't want you to have to. But let me say this for all the people out there. When there's no blueprint for how you should treat a person that has been through a traumatic experience, no one knows unless you've been through that. Somebody around you been through that. Well, let me say this. When something traumatic happens to you, you know immediately if somebody's reaching out because they just want to be nosy. I remember when I got back on Instagram, people, Brandon, you okay? What happened? What happened? What happened? People were more interested, some people, not everybody, some people was more interested in what happened than they were interested in, dang, he's okay.
Your
He's
overall
alive.
well-being, yeah.
They weren't concerned about what actually they should have been concerned about. They just wanted to be nosy. Not everybody, some people. But again, treat people the way you want to be treated. Who wants to be treated like that? Oh, Brandon, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry. How does that change? That's not going to change it. You saying that you're so sorry that happened, it doesn't take away that it happened. So you got to treat people. You have to treat people the way you want to be treated. When something like that happens to you, just put people in, give people their space to recover, because you want to recover, you want to get back to the things that you were doing before, but if everybody is overwhelming that person, then they can't recover fully. So I think that there's so much that I can say, but we have to do better as people, as a society, because we're focused on the wrong things, and nothing is more important in life than life itself. And we need to do better in how we treat people, and we need to do better overall, because some of the stuff that because you asked me how do I look at life differently. Well, some stuff in life is just not important, and that's the honest truth. Some stuff in life is just not important.
How do you know what's important and what's not important? I mean, that's a personal question, because people value different things.
Yeah.
So certain things weigh
Absolutely.
more heavily for some than others. But
Absolutely.
how do someone like me or anybody, how would one assess what's important in life? Like, what are your key indicators to know what's important in your life?
Yeah, where do you see yourself? Where are you trying to go? What are your aspirations? If whatever decision you make doesn't align with that, with those things, then it's not important.
That's very true.
It's just not important. I mean, I've had people ask me, "Hey man, when we gonna go to the club and all that?" I'm like, that's just not important right now for me. And I'm not saying that we're young, we have fun. You have fun. I've had a lot of fun in my life.
We know.
Well,
I know.
I've had a lot of fun in my life, but that just isn't important right now for me. Now, I don't mind. I don't have a problem doing that, but not right now, because that's not where I want. That's not what I want to do.
I think too, what a lot of us need to understand is that priorities change. It doesn't even take something traumatic to happen. Sometimes it's just a wake-up call of any sort, and unfortunately, but fortunately enough, because he's still here and God allowed him to see life differently. But the accident was Brandon's wake-up call, and your wake-up call can be anything. You could lose your job, you could lose someone that's close to you, you can bring new life into this world. There's so many different things that are seen as curveballs that are literally wake-up calls for you to change your priorities and change how you view life, how you see life, and to really realign with what matters most to you. But I think we get so stuck in the mundane oftentimes, doing what's familiar. Like, we know we wake up, we go to work, we go to school, we come home, we might chat with our friends, our family, and then we get ready for bed. We do the same thing the next day for 365 days a year, for however long. And we do all that, not really slowing down to really assess what even is important. So yes, for Brandon right now, partying isn't important. It's not something that the top of his priorities. It's not something that he highly values. And that's not to say that if that is something that you value, that's wrong. But I think it's very important for us to do those check-ins with ourselves, whether we have those wake-up calls or not, to really assess where I am right now, is this really where I want to be? And if not, then what is it that I want out of life? What is it that's truly important? What is it that I want to change or add to my life to really allow myself to be able to make those priorities actual priority.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I tried to begin with the end in mind.
Where you learned it
I learned that at Columbia High School.
Yeah, 2106, yeah.
And, you know, what that really means to me is, you know, where do you see yourself? That's the end. Okay, begin with that. So you got to put in you got to do the baby steps to get there. And if the decision that you're making does not align with that, or doesn't help you get there, then you need to be making other decisions. You need to be doing what it takes to get to where you're trying to go. And a lot of people just don't do that. You know, we have, as you said, we have glamorized success, but we haven't glamorized the process of getting there.
Yeah, we have not glamorized the process because it's not necessarily glamorous.
It's not
really
glamorous.
Not.
You know,
but
a lot of sleepless nights and early mornings and a lot of making sacrifices and things like that to get to the end goal. But a lot of people aren't going to do it. And then it's not that they don't want to do it. They're just never going to just stand up and start walking that way.
They're not going to treat those things like a priority.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, what do they say? They say you make time for the things that's most important to you. And oftentimes we hear this in dating, like, oh, if they're not giving you the attention, they don't want to. If he wanted to, he would. All those types of things. But those are actually like life sayings, things that apply to everyday life. Like, I know for me, I am very much a culprit of doing things for the now and not really always assessing how my current actions are going to impact my future. But what I've been trying to implement, and guys, this is a work in progress. Nobody expects you to go from one extreme to the next. Like, if you're currently living for the now, not really considering how your current actions are going to impact your future, then it's going to take time for you to be mindful of your actions on a day-to-day and making sure that you're doing things that align with where you want to be. But what has helped me is like being still and asking myself, if younger Megan, like Megan that's in elementary school, you remember those little boards we used to do like the first day or first week of school where you would say your name, you say your hobby, your favorite color, all of that, like what you want to be when you grow up. If Megan from back then was to look at my life now, like how would she perceive me? What would she say about me? Would she think like, oh my gosh, your life is so cool, I'm so happy that you became the woman that you are? Or would she be like, this is kind of like disappointing, like this kind of sucks, this is kind of boring? And also thinking about my future self, like when I'm doing things that's comfortable and familiar but not necessarily helping me to get where I want to go, I ask myself, like, if future me was to get asked, like, do you have any regrets, would I say like, oh, I wish when I'm currently 26, so I wish when I was 26 I had made the decisions to do X, Y, and Z. I don't currently live my life with any regrets, and I don't plan on starting. But time is fleeting. Like, we're not going to get this time back. So I think it's very important for us to really like put in the work and really like take those actions and those steps that align with where we want to go.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about taking aligned action in order to achieve success. We've talked about your accident and like the revelations that the accident has had on you. Now we're approaching our closing, but I do want to just know where you are now. Like, how has life been since returning back to work? How has your personal or social dynamic shifted? Just a little bit about that, and kind of relate it back to your overall story of just like being the underdog and just believing in yourself, and like how those same core, I guess, like values, for lack of better words, how do those apply to where you are in your life right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first of all, I want to thank God for saving me and bringing me back.
Yes, Lord, thank you so much, God. Thank you so much. I can't thank him enough.
Thank God for that. And honestly, Megan, I would I could say I picked up where I left off, but I feel like it's better than that. Man, I mean, if I could write a book, I mean, it's crazy.
You should write a book.
And one day I will, and you're gonna be my author. But I mean, coming back, getting out discharged from the hospital, going back to work, 3 months after brain injury.
Like, hold on, slow down, because do y'all really even grasp what this man is saying to y'all? 3 months after a brain injury, the neuro, what they call
Neuroscience?
No, the neuro specialist or whoever, whatever doctor deals with the brain, that doctor came in the hospital room and we was just asking for updates. And I remember the doctor saying, like, don't count on him being himself for basically the remainder of this year. Like, he has a very significant amount of bleeding in his brain, and that will impact his recovery, his overall recovery. And at this point, I believe the ventilator had been taken out, but like that was like the very first thing to happen that had us feel like, okay, we're seeing progress. We've always had hope, because me and his actual family and my family and just his friends and his community, we've been praying like from day one when it happened. We were just praying nonstop for his recovery. So we believed that it was gonna happen, and even though like things probably, that month, we expecting things to happen sooner than they actually happened, not even thinking like, okay, his overall recovery is still gonna be quicker than the normal. But the doctor came in and she said, like, it's going to take months, 6, 7, 8 months. So for the rest of the year, do not count on him to be himself again. And 3 months later, he is himself. He's a better version of himself because of the insights and just how he values himself and his life and life in general on a whole. But he's himself. Like, nobody expecting him to be able to talk, walk, eat, do things that, people that suffer his type of injuries don't get to do so soon. So I did have to just put a little pause on you speaking to say that, because I don't think, like, you can hear it and be like, 3 months, that sounds like a long time. But no, 3 months for a brain injury, to be recovered from a brain injury, is very, very, very fast. Mm-hmm. Like, that is not normal.
Yeah.
But I be telling you that you blessed and you highly favored. I be telling you, you the chosen one. And I feel like this is all a testament to that.
Yeah, you have. But when you used to say that years ago, I didn't understand that. But now I do.
It's crazy that he didn't understand y'all, because y'all heard his story. Y'all see how he continued to overcome obstacles and just shine bright like an eye.
I didn't understand that I was blessed and highly favored, but now I do. Mm-hmm. But yeah, going back to work was not a financial decision. It was a decision to me to get my life back. Mm-hmm. I've enjoyed being back at work. First of all, I must say that my colleagues, they were looking for me. And some people, I knew them, I knew their face, but we never formally introduced each other, got each other's name. But they were looking for me. And somebody said, man, when you weren't here, it was a light that just wasn't present when you weren't here. Wow. And they said there was a certain energy that you feel that when you weren't here, it wasn't being filled.
I believe it.
And that really meant a lot to me. Mm-hmm. So going back to work has been a blessing. I got on my first flight since my accident to Austin, Texas, to go do a team offsiting. I spoke and all that good stuff. So it's been a blessing. Since being discharged from the hospital, I bought some land that I thought I was gonna do it before the accident and all that, but things happen for a reason. And I came back out of the hospital, and a month after that, I bought some land, and I got my estate done. Mm-hmm. And I closed my first deal since I've been back at work. And there's so much more. There's so much light at the end of the tunnel. I'm excited. I'm excited. I am happy. I'm excited for those. I'm just happy for to just be here, and I'm happy to have friends. You know, one of the things that I learned too, I know a lot of people.
A lot of people.
I know
This
a
man,
lot of people.
hold on. This man really be going out to wherever. It don't matter. He could be at the mall. He could be at the grocery store, the bowling alley. He could be at a restaurant. He is walking up to people, talking to them, taking pictures with them like he knows them. He knows a lot of people.
Yeah.
And people be recognizing him from just one encounter. Like, if I was to post Brandon on my story right now, it would be people be like, oh my gosh, be hardy, be hardy. Like, he's really that guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
But continue.
God sent. But yeah, you know, it feels, you know, Megan, it feels different now. You know, post the accident, post the injury, walking around, it feels like a badge of honor to be walking. It does feel like a walking miracle. It does. And I don't have the words to put to make it, you know, you understand it, but it just feels different. It really feels different. And there are people who look at me and they say, I remember I was in Texas and one of my coworkers said, Brandon, dude, did something happen to you? Because it doesn't look like nothing happened to you. And I just think that's such a blessing, because you don't look like half you've been through. And I know my body went through a lot.
A lot.
But I'm still here, and I'm still walking a good walk, and I'm happy, and I've done a lot of great things. Even in the short amount of time I've been at the hospital, I've done a lot, and I've seen a lot of great friends, and my friends, the ones who showed up, showed out. And you know what I'm talking about. I ain't gonna say it on here, but the ones who showed up, showed out, and I appreciate you and I thank you. I think because the love really did overshadow everything else. The love was, it was strong. It was strong. So I appreciate those ones who really love and care about me, because, man, that really kept me on high when things were tough. And I appreciate it. And there's a lot more. So stay tuned, because there's a lot more that I'm gonna do. Yeah. There's a lot more that God has for me to do. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna walk in, you know, his steps. That he paved the way for me. But I just wanted to end and say, I know I'm not the host, but man, you can accomplish anything you put your mind to.
Anything.
And even though you grew up, you know, I always say, if somebody took a sheet of paper and they wrote my life and the challenges and the obstacles I've had to endure, and you ask somebody, where is this person? Where they at with their life? They would never guess that where I'm at right now. And that's just a testament to believing in myself and working hard and staying motivated and positive and finding good people to help you along the way. Yeah. Because you need that. And that's something people don't talk about. But everybody, you need somebody, you know, your board of trustees, if you will, the people who can help you, you know, get the dream job, or who can help you get into your dream school, or, you know, who can help you, you know,
just get some type of idea or like aspiration off the ground.
Exactly. Thank you for helping.
You can't do life alone.
Yeah,
we can't.
It takes a village.
It takes a village.
And it has taken a village to raise me. And I gotta call out some of my neighbors that I grew up around. And some of them are not with us anymore, but wow, they made sure I was taken care of when my mom couldn't. And they took me to places when I didn't have a ride. And they really looked out for me. And it really does take a village to raise a child, because a village definitely raised me.
But it doesn't even stop at childhood. Yeah. Like, you need community to get through life. You can't do life alone. As much as some people want to say like all they have is themselves, and you might feel like that, but realistically you cannot get through this life alone. Life throws so many curveballs and so many challenges. It's ups, it's downs. In the same way that you might need a shoulder to cry on, you want people there to cheer you on when you're doing well in life as well. So I think that you having that community speaks again to the type of person that you are. Because if you wasn't the man that you are, people wouldn't support you or love you or cherish you the way that we do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, because people, like I said, the friends that really care, they showed up and showed out. And I'm very grateful and I'm appreciative of that, because man, it's a beautiful thing to be loved. And you know, before my accident, I knew that people loved me, but it felt different. Now it feels totally different. That love is strong, and I appreciate it. So yeah.
All right, to close, I'm just gonna ask you to give a few fun facts about yourself. I want to start with one fun fact that I love about you. About you, and I want you to demonstrate this for my audience. So Brandon loves to sing.
Yeah.
That's a very huge part of his personality, aside from dressing like he going somewhere every single day. He really not ever looking like no bum for real. But yes, can you please give my audience a little razzle dazzle with your voice?
Oh Lord. You put me on the spot.
On the spot, let's go.
I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all. Stop laughing. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children laughter remind us how we used to be. I can't stop laughing. Cause everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone who fulfilled my needs. A lonely place to be. And so I learned to depend on me. I decided you laughing, I'm for real.
I know you for real, but it's so funny, bro.
But I decided stop laughing. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadows. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what, no matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. Because the greatest love of all is happening to me. See, I found the greatest love of all inside of me. See, we just had a conversation on how you gotta believe in yourself and you gotta work hard. And that song really speaks towards that. You gotta believe yourself, you gotta trust yourself, and you gotta love yourself. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadows. If I fail or if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity.
Amen.
So, yeah.
Okay, and your other two facts, thank you for the show. Thank you for the show. I don't know what all of it is gonna be in there, but that was a good one.
For real?
That was a great one.
You laughing?
It was so funny. So 2 more fun facts for the people. Something that we haven't discussed today that, you know, interesting about you?
Fun fact, I love to travel. I've been to 51 countries. I've been to 6 of 7 continents. The only continent I haven't been to is Antarctica. I've been all around the world, and every time I go, I don't just go places to post pictures on Instagram. No, I go places and I meet people, and I make friends, and I think that's one of the great qualities about me. Is that people really? I'm a genuine person.
People gravitate to you.
People gravitate towards me. I don't do the fake stuff. I don't do the fake love. I'm a real individual. And if I like you, I love you. And I just like to treat people with, the love and respect that I want back for myself. So yeah. So that's my second fun fact.
Right. My closing facts.
My third fact is, y'all, I love to dress up. I've been, and I know I'm dressed up now, but man, I've been dressing up ever since. When I was in high school, and I really started dressing up and stuff when I was going to church when I was in high school, but I wasn't dressing up in stuff that's fashionable. I was dressing up in hand-me-downs from my older brothers. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror, and I said, wow, I like this outfit. And even though it wasn't that nice, I just like the dressing up.
You just like being put together.
I like being put together.
Right.
And when I started making money, when I started working at Chick-fil-A, you worked at Chick-fil-A, I started saving money. I started buying me stuff that I wanted to wear. Because I love dressing up, because it's really a part of who I am. I love wearing bow ties. I wear a bow tie every day if I can.
Tell people how you were so happy when you was able to tie your bow tie again.
Oh my God, that was when I first got to the hospital and I got home, I kept thinking, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to tie it again by myself. And one day I just started, when you lose the ability to do something physically, and you regain that is gratification unlike any other.
I can only imagine.
So when I could tie my bow tie again, this is tied. I tied this myself. It just meant the world to me. It was the return. The return of Mr. B. Hardy.
Mr. B. Hardy.
Yeah, so it just meant the world to me.
Well, thank you, Brandon, so much for coming on Transparency. Guys, if you like this episode, please let us know exactly what parts resonated with you in the comments, wherever you might be listening or viewing this episode. And also, leave each other some words of encouragement, because like we said, we need community to get through life. And this is an episode basically about just overcoming obstacles, believing in yourself, being resilient and persevering through all life's trials and tribulations, the curveballs that we're thrown. But we still need encouragement from others, we still need to have somebody else to tell us, like, you're not alone, you can do it, it's hard, but you'll get through it, and all those things. So do that in the comments, like this episode if you enjoyed it, and also share with whoever you feel like could take something out of this, because I feel like a lot of valuable gems were dropped here today. Thank you for tuning in, Brandon. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And I will catch you guys in the next one. I send you off with love, happiness, and light. Toodles.
See you.